Starting my speech in 3, 2, wait. In 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of problem that happen in our society and still not being solved, even if there is the narrative of youth as change makers in the society. What is this problem? We see that there are a lot of social problem in our society, which can be said as that there's still a lot of underage marriage. Uh, there's still a lot of child grooming in our society, because we think that this has happened because there are still a lot of wrong things that still be done by society repetitively, because old-fashioned or conservative way of thinking by the adult. And we see that we really regret the glorification of youth as change maker. First, what we mean by youth is someone below 30s, and change maker are someone who is taking creative action to solve and make massive change to social problem. What are the social problem? The social problem can be seen as how the society think of women. We see that how the society thinks of uh, underage marriage and such else. And we really regret this term, because why? What we want at the first time with this narrative at the first step is there are two reasons. First, to encourage the youth to take part in the society, and second, to give part for youth at making change. And we see that the thing that happen in our society right now is really not is really not matched with what we want at the first time. We see that with encouraging the youth to take part in the society, what happened right now? It give burden to youth to make change as the society, because they are the one that responsible to that, and it gives the burden to the youth, and it make them depressed, and later that they cannot involve in the society. And second, when what we want with this narrative at the first time is to give part for youth and making change. But what happened right now is uh that there are no change at all, that the adult still underestimate the youth, and what led the youth to take part and doesn't want to hear youth opinion. So by that, we really regret the glorification of youth as change maker. First, notice that we never regret youth as change maker, but we regret the glorification of youth as change maker. What happened right now? We say that there are two things that why we think that youth should not be the main actor of this change maker, because we see first reason, they are younger, which means less year of involvement to the society. And we see they are less experienced, even if the opposition side will have say that this youth might have uh, might have much experience. We say that no, because this youth is they are younger, and we see that nowadays their voice still not be heard by the society, because the society still think that because they are way younger, their arguments is not valid. And we say that
Point.
that's what happened. No, we say that's what happened, when that's what's happened. And this glorification of a whole thing like youth as change maker still not make any change to our society. And coming to my argument first, why we said that we regret the glorification of youth as change maker. We said that there are two, three things. First, it take long time, and second, it won't solve the problem, and third, it give burden to the youth. And we say what we mean by this is there's a lot of layer. There's a lot of layer. There's a lot of range, age in our society. And by we keep glorifying the youth as change maker, we really neglecting, we really being and ignorance about what happened in our one. That's still why, because even if your number are more than this adult, they still don't have the voice. They are more than the adult. The adults still have the control in society, such as politics, bureaucracy and such else. Because because
Point.
by that we say that this is why the youth can can voice their voice, and we say why it takes too long time because in our in our society in our society this youth still doesn't have the voice, and it will take the long time because why the society still have the conservative way of thinking because of this adult, and we say by that because they are the future generation, and it will take the long time maybe after they have the voice, after they have like our politics or bureaucracy, later they can make the problem, they can make the change, but it will take a really long time, and we need this problem to fix by now. We really need, we see that there's a lot of such a conservative way of thinking in our society that's still not being solved. We see that there are a lot of child grooming. We see that in the village or maybe in the city, in the modern city, people are still think that uh, like underage marriage is justifiable, and by that we can see that this youth cannot voice their voice because why, even if this youth can voice their voice, but they still not being heard by the society, and by that we see that this is really this not match by what we want by the youth as change makers, because they cannot really make the change in our society right now. Because why, because why the adults still have the control in the society, and we said it won't solve the problem. Why? Because because to make a change, realize, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to make change by every layers of our society, that every layer should have their involvement in this change. And we say by saying that youth as change maker, by glorifying this term, it makes people think that the one that should make the youth, the one that should make the change is the only and only youth. And by that we said that this won't change the problem, because why, if only one part of the society that tries to make change, but the others still don't accept this change because they see that this shit is, oh, they are way too liberal, they are way too western, and by that this change won't happen. And we say that it won't solve the problem right now that we really need to solve, and it give burden to the youth. And even if the opposition might say why they don't regret this narrative, because they say that youth is the future generation, so by that to change the future, youth must take part. We say, I already proved to you that even if this youth is future generation, it really takes a long time until they have the voice in the society, until they have the control of our politics, our bureaucracy, our economic. And by that we say it is way too long, and until that time the society won't change. And we say that every layers of and by that when they say that the youth should do this because they are the future generation, and we say that no, because we believe that that every part of society need and should be the change makers in order to make the change as soon as possible in our society. And I already proved to you why we regret this motion, because first you can really make any change right now, and second, why the problem still happen. And by that the opposition side of the house must prove to youth, and that with youth and youth only we can make change regardless of the adult. And by that we are proud to propose. Thank you.
Well, panels, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's focusing on this current status quo where there are so many social issues, social problem, lack of education, lack of harassment, lack of stuff, and we would like to talk about the glorification, which is this kind of narrative. It is appeared because we need something to be rich, we need something to be hold on to be get rich as our purpose, ladies and gentlemen. And today we are going to talk about the motions, which is talk about this house regards the glorifications of youth as a change maker narrative, ladies and gentlemen. And here we are. I am here as the government, as the opposite side of the house, totally proud to oppose, ladies and gentlemen. And coming to my sense and school, why we should disagree with this kind of motions, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see, by this kind of unsolved cases of inequality, by regret the glorification of youth as thing maker, we want to be apply this kind of motions because the existence of this kind of narrative wasn't a problem, and this kind of glorification appears because of a reason, ladies and gentlemen. But becoming come to my argument, why should we disagree with this kind of motion, I would like to give 2 point of responses to the proposite side of the house where they say that why we should give a youth this kind why we should support this glorification, which is talk about the youth should become the change maker because it will give them a burden. The younger, the elder will underestimate the younger, ladies and gentlemen. We can see that the younger is the generation who can be so improved, who have so curious ability where they have ability which is they have to be curious and need something to be know at the end of the day. They need something to know. They want to improve their generation, ladies and gentlemen. And by this kind of statement, if you say that the the young people will get underestimate and they should not get a chance to be a change maker. We can see, ladies and gentlemen, where does the children, where does the young change maker have a place to give and to let their aspiration to be here to the society, ladies and gentlemen, to help their aspirations to the public, so there will be no change in your side of the house, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen,
Before
coming
going,
to
sir.
my argument, let's talk about why this kind of why this kind of motion should be disagree in our side of the house, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to tell you about two arguments, which is we would like to tell you about how this glorification could increase the youth as a change maker movement, and second of all, talk about why does this kind of motions totally unjustified in our side of the house, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to my argument, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about uh let's talk about every single youth in the world could be a change maker, ladies and gentlemen, but not every person know how to become it, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why by this narrative it exists to create a change toward the society. Comparatively, we can see in status quo before, if this kind of narrative or glorification appear into the society, there will be no change, there will be no exposure toward the society to reach this kind of goals to be happen, ladies and gentlemen. And this narrative, it's only a bit people that aware about this a particular change that should be a change. And now people are progressively, they do aware now this narrative is to guide the people who wants a change in the world, to hold young people in this case to be work together and fix the existing circumstances in this kind of status quo, ladies and gentlemen. And this kind of the world that we want to support in our side of the house, that by this kind of glorifications it will be trigger more people willing to be involved in this youth as a change maker movement, and they will get spot, they will get the spots, and they will get the exposure towards the society to support their movement as a youth, as a change maker, ladies and gentlemen. Why does this kind of exposure totally give so impact? Why does this kind of exposure totally need to as a purpose to support this kind of movement, ladies and gentlemen? We can see if they do if this kind of glorification appear and it's become a headline and stuff in the media and news, ladies and gentlemen, the movement of this youth of a change maker could be exposed and could be highlighted by the all media and discussion in the world, where they will take a fully attention about the headline talking about the youth as a change maker, ladies and gentlemen. We can see
Right.
that by this kind of movement, by this kind of exposure, the movement of the youths that they want to stand for will be reached and will be heard from the society. Such as we can see about the uh, feminism movement that the youth stand for, about the lack of education that the change makers stand for and stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And by this kind of exposure, the whole world will look at them and will see who they are, who really they are, who what they stand for and stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And by this kind of social issues like environmental feminism, of the stuff, by this kind of of the social movement, by this in our side of the house and the rest of
Yeah,
the
I
society, it will be explained on my side, give impact towards the society, ladies and gentlemen. Totally it will get the attention, the society will inspire could inspire, and now what does happen in their society, around them and surrounding them about their environmental issues, they will kind of youth movement, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, so many impact and have so many contributions toward the future of the generation itself, ladies and gentlemen. We can see how does how does the youth have so many kind of need, ladies and gentlemen. And by this kind of courage, we can see that our youth, by this kind of glorification, could be more developed rather than we should be abandon and abolish this kind of glorification to be regret. And that's why we should disagree with this kind of motion, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, why does this kind of motions totally unjustified in our side of the house, ladies and gentlemen? We can see, ladies and gentlemen, the glorification, the narrative and stuff will be appear towards the society and towards the world because we need something to be reached. We need something to be happen. We need something because there are so many lack of issues in the society. So we need attentions towards uh to get the demanding on create a change, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why this kind of existence of the glorification happen as a standardizations to be survive in our side of status quo, ladies and gentlemen. It's appear on the society because there are so many reasons to be fulfilled. So that's why this kind of motions totally unjustified in our side of the house. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see about the uh, cases that has happened and get reduced by this kind of young maker movement, which is got exposed, which is got exposure by the society. We can see in a PB program, which is it is campaign to end the plastic pollutions on their home island, where in Bali in 2019, Bali finally banned the final use of plastic because the PBB program, which is held by this kind of uh, youth movement, has been got the so many attention and so many exposure towards the society. And that's why there are this kind of movement. It's spoken by 600 students, and they do so many progressive movement towards to solve the social issues of environmental, ladies and gentlemen. And here we are. I am here as the opposite side of the house, totally proud to oppose. Thank you.
I'm gonna start my speech in 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, clearly the opposition side have some mistakes in their point of view of the motion here. Okay, they say that the current status quo does not have any problem, like how the younger people can always bring benefit, how the younger people can is always right, like how their position, we should always advocate that they should make change. Clearly, the younger generations have way higher egos, which is proven because of this glorification that will raise their egos, such as people like, for example, influencers like Jake Paul, which is clearly bad. They are creating educations that are very influencing, but in a bad manner. Even if it's true that there's no problem this glorifying will create, clearly it will still create massive bad impacts, like holding older people's perspective back, allowing for them to think that they don't need to be involved. Now, second, by glorifying these youth, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will know how to make the changes, by the way. It will only make them think that they can change something, and the way that they change something might not be right. The youth itself is not even always right about the problem that we should solve, and like which problems we should solve first, or like the solution to these problems, which is why we shouldn't always glorify them and think that they are always the one who's right. We shouldn't glorify that these people are the one to make the changes. Next, we see that in our side there are a lot of place for youth to voice their voice. For example, feminist youth organization. But we see that there are still no change in our situation. Yes, maybe there is a little change, but there are not massive changes because adults still won't hear their voice. So by that, we say the voice of youth is still very wrong in a sense of way. It can be very wrong. And lastly, they haven't proven our BOP. How can the youth make changes without involvement of an adult? I will get into my substantive cases right now. Ladies and gentlemen, to be clear, we are not against youth to be able to provide a change to society, to provide a massive solution to social problems. What we are against is glorifying that youth is the one who is supposed to bring the change, be the change maker. We shouldn't glorify this. The problem with this is, first, glorifying this can mean that the ones who think they aren't youth again, the one that's not in this range of age, will develop a mindset that they aren't the one who is supposed to contribute to making a change, even though social problems right now, ladies and gentlemen, will require opinions, different point of views. That is why having the ones who are not in their youth anymore to think like this is very bad. Glorifying this youth could cause some people to think that they does not need to contribute anyone. Second problem, by glorifying the youth to be the one that brings the change makers, this will cause some ego issues, massive ego issues, ladies and gentlemen. For example, the term of being a change maker will deviate into something more self-centric, because this youth will develop a system of thinking where they think that they are the one who is always right. They are the one who will make the change, which will be a massive problem, ladies and gentlemen. Now, going on to my points first. The harm that I've talked about, which is the fact that solving problems, making change, cannot come from one side only, ladies and gentlemen. To be a change maker, to be someone who solves social problems and bring massive impact, we need everyone to contribute to this. By glorifying that the youth are the ones who are supposed to become the change makers, the older people can develop a mindset where they think they are the one who is supposed to contribute. And why is this a problem, ladies and gentlemen? Two reasons. First, problems and changes have to be brought on by every side equally. We need every side's opinion, every side's point of view to be able to establish a change in the world that is actually positive. If we only go on by the youth point of view, by how this youth think, we think that the changes that happens can actually be harmful, which is why glorifying the youth is bad, because people can think that they don't need to be involved anymore. Which is why we need people of all age range to contribute to this. Second, having people who aren't in their youth to start contributing to solving problems, to bring impact, means that we are wasting so much human resources that we're able to create ideas. Even certain problems can only be recognized by certain age groups, like such as disabilities in the elderly, for example, which can be overlooked by this youth, which is why, again, glorifying youth as change makers will be very bad, because a very bad impact, because again, it will give a notion that older people aren't supposed to contribute. These people can develop the perception that, oh, because we all of us has been glorifying that the youth is the one important, that they are the one who are supposed to bring the change maker, it will cause them to think that, oh, our opinion is probably not needed again, because these people are clearly more important. And this is clearly wrong. Now, moving on to my second argument, this youth can develop severe ego problems. This youth can be very self-centered. They will have the mindset that they are right in their opinion because they are the one who can only bring the change maker. Okay? By glorifying this, we can develop a mindset on this youth that is that is a very bad impact. Yes?
We think like the counterbalance exists once there are society consequences. Why you guys are blaming too much to this youth once the other external factor exists at the very first place, right?
I'm sorry, I really don't understand your POI, but you said that there's a counterbalance because there is an external factor or something. This won't matter because again, like glorifying this can make them think that make this youth think that this that their point of view is correct than this other external factors, because we've been glorifying them too much. Okay, and going back to my reason, I'll bring on two reasons on why this is bad, on why how the youth will develop severe ego problems is very bad. First, creating an ego problem on our youth can deviate and will deviate their perspective towards the term change maker itself into something that is way more self-centric, that they can be way more selfish. Okay? The youth, instead of solving problems, instead of bringing good impact, because the self-centric way of this youth view, it can change into something more around themselves, such as, if I am popular, if I have become an influencer, and because I've influenced people, I have made change. To clarify, this is totally okay to be an influencer. It is totally okay to bring change. But, okay, this self-centric view is the bad part of this, because the self-centric view can actually change the way this youth can influence people. Such as the example that I brought. People like Jake Paul, who are just massive douchebags, can create scams. Their video doesn't create an education, but rather bring harm to the society. That happens because their point of view is so self-centric. You know that Jake Paul's very selfish. They always think that they're right. Because, again, this happens because we glorify that the youth are the one very important. We always glorify that the youth has to be the one that bring change making. On second reason why the ego shouldn't be we shouldn't glorify because their ego will be too high. Second, why is it that why is it that their deviated view of changemaker will be bad? Because even though we don't want to glorify it, we also still need this youth to be able to create positive impact. Listen, we don't need to glorify this, but we still need them to bring positive impact because they are the one living in future generation, and glorifying them as someone who can bring massive change, as I brought in my first reason, it can actually cause harm to society and overall rather than bring positive impacts. Now, what are the impacts of this? Under our side, it will mean that a more positive impact can be brought forward because people are participating more. We aren't like pushing older people back like on contributing, and it can avoid the chance that this youth will develop a self-centered view. And as I said before, the self-centered view will cause more harm overall. Thank you.
If you want to POI, please just mute yourself. If you're in chat, unless I will not read it. Give me 15 seconds to set my device. Okay, I'm going to start my speech. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, we think that the whole case of the opposition government side of the house already falls at the very first place. Noticing once the argument that they brought was clearly backlashing through the value that they want to reach. Right. I'll rebut every statement that was brought by the government side of the house. So come to the case. We think that the both sides clearly agree that we still need this youth as a change maker simply because they have a young age, like their range of age are still really potential or important towards creating a new change. They are ambitious. They are aware with the social trends issues that happen. That's why we need their involvement. However, once the government side of the house says like in the status quo still regressive, the progressivity is not enough, we think that that's the really right time for us to glorify this youth as a change maker, because the narrative already exists at the very first place. However, the status quo is still regressive and not giving like enough progressivity towards the change. That's why we think that we need this glorification to change all the perspective or to solve any other kind of social issues towards status quo. 3 responses toward the government side of the house. First, they say that once the youth glorified the narrative, once we glorify it, they say that only the youth that gonna involve through like creating a change. We think that it will not happen. It could happen if the current status quo all contribution was in equal places. Noticing how in the current status quo, like other people still dominate. That's why we think that the glorify was needed at the very first place. This is the thing that was failed and to analyze by the government side of the house, right? So yes, right, we think that it will create like not create like a really dominant involvement towards the youth, because at the end of the day, the parliament, the policymaker, or any other kind of institution was clearly dominant by the elder people, let's say like people above 30, 40, and so on, right? That's why we think that we need this clarification to create later. We think we need this clarification to create a balance toward our society and to create more change toward the society by the youth people as the change maker. Second, when their prime minister mentioned like it will take the long time, conservative, and so on, we think like that's what it was meant to be, right? Because it was conservative, because the patriarchy culture is still strong in our society. That's why we needed this kind of glorification to youth people to make a change. In the government side of the house, it will not create any change because noticing how the the current status quo is still regressive. The progressivity is not enough. Once they want to keep in status quo, once they like do not offer like a really clear mechanism or how they regret by they don't know how to they gonna support, we think that the same conservative thing will gonna happen. However, we want to solve that. The government side of the house only keep one to running away. However, they don't want to solve the problem in the very first place. Third, we think that their whole case backlies to the case that they offer at the very first place. Their first and second mention like they don't want to keep in status quo, like it's still regressive. However, they don't really clear or give mechanization of how they gonna achieve that. There's no like a likelihood how it could happen in their border side of the house. But in our side of the house, we clearly offer you the glorification to reach the change into status quo to create more progressive. That's why we think that we already tackle down all of the cases that was bring by the government side of the house. So several points to clarify. We think that it's really clear once we mention that the both sides have the same interest to create like same we have the same interest to create like a change maker towards this youth. Noticing once they like really concerned towards bringing like Jack Paul or so on, we think that we are not that careless like to support the change maker like towards a bad behavior or manner. We think that we are really rational to only support the change of these young people that are they bring a good fellows to our society, right? So let's not wasting time anymore. Let's come to my argument. I'll bring to argument first about the extension, how the solvement of the social issue will be far better in outside of the house. Second, how the glorification will not create like a dominant toward the solvement of society, even if it happened, why it's okay, right? So first, come to the extension. I'll explain first about how the current status quo. Noticing how in the current status quo, the parliament, the policymaker, or any kind of change maker was clearly dominant by the elder people. Looking how most in the parliament, like most of them, 90% are elder people above 30 and 40. We think that that's the thing. Once we needed this change maker, it doesn't mean that they could only change like once they sit on parliament. However, we could create like a bigger movement by the people, this youth as the change maker, to create a reform policies towards this policymaker, right? So what's the problem? I'll give several analysis why the elder people will less aware with the social problem, because the current status quo, the older people are dominant, right? First, the background. We think that they are grow in a patriarchy time. Once the culture of patriarchy and any other kind of culture and knowledge that exists once they grow up still really strong, that women are weaker than men. Women are weaker than men, and the gender are not equal, right? Second of all, they are having a long gap of age than these youth. That's why we think that these elder people did not really experience, they did not really like feel the really problem that has been happening in status quo to these young people. That's why they have less incentive and aware to create it. Third, they have like less awareness due to a strategic prioritization. We think that they are most likely like prioritized in a really big case. However, a really basic case like people's mental, it's ignored by them, right? So how the solvement will look like in our side of the house. Noticing how several like trending issues like the young people have to change. First, we can see like feminism. Noticing how patriarchy is strong, we think that we need this change maker youth narrative to be glorified. Noticing how the feminism was not really got the acceptance, the progressivity was clearly not enough in society. Glorification, as what my fellow fair speaker already clearly explained to you, how it will like gain more exposure towards media, how people will put their sympathy. That's why this issue will be solved, right? Second, about the sexual violence and harassment. Let's say like as the likelihood that I already explained to you, why they are less aware, they have like the gap of age, they have like a different backgrounds when they grow up. Third, let's say like environmental issues. Let's take example like in Papua, once the Korean companies cutting down the trees, once the elder people that become in the parliament did not really care to the issues, simply because as long as they get beneficial from letting them cutting down the trees. However, we are the youth are the one who gonna continue the things that exist in Indonesia. We are the one who gonna continue the the utilize of natural resource. That's why once it's broke down in the very first place, once it's the situation it become worse at the very first place, it will not develop our country at all. So second things, how the glorification will not create the dominant. We think that the dominant will happen if the current status quo was already equal by every side. Young, elder, they have like the same contribution. However, the status quo did not. That's why we need this glorification to make it equal at the very first place. This shot will create like become the agent of change maker and will create. Even if yes, it's okay. Noticing how the likelihood that I already explained at the very first place, we think that we win this debate. We tackle all the argument that was bring by the government side of the house. So proud to propose.
Speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, looks like the opposition side team really championing the youth stuff in our society. But remember, from the very beginning of this debate, we already talked that some certain of problem only can be recognized or by some certain age. So we need that all people, all range of age in our society get included to solve the social problem. Before I'm going to my rebuttals and to sum up my team's argument, I will giving the class on this debate. Two classes in this debate. First, whether or not this with glorification this narrative will bring more harm or benefit to our society, and second, whether or not this narrative will solve our social problem. Ladies and gentlemen, the opposition side team basically have two main arguments. First, that they talk that this youth is this the this that these should are the future generation, therefore they should need something to know. They should are curious to you are curious to know about the problems. Do you have the capability? Do you have all the other things they are talking about, ladies and gentlemen? And second argument, they are talking that this glorification justifiable because this will giving an attention to the world and the society. Therefore, the world will know about the issue. Therefore, the society will be aware about the issue that happen in our society. Ladies and gentlemen, I have some rebuttals for the opposition side of them. First, we need to recognize that youth, we already said that these youth are below 30, yeah, right? Quite below 30 because this range of age are the golden age of the youth itself. The management looks like the operation staff team only caring about the social problem in our society, but they are not caring about the actors of the youth itself because we know that not all youth want to be a change maker of their life. Ladies and gentlemen. We all know that we have a different purpose of our life. We all know that we have a different needs. We have a different desire in our society. And with this narrative, with glorification of this narrative, then it will giving a burden to our youth that, oh, you are youth and you need to make a change in society because of you are youth, not because you are capable, not because you are want to be, not because you are need to be, but you are must to do it because the stigma have in our society, ladies and gentlemen. Even if let's talk, even if all youth want to be a change maker, ladies and gentlemen, but we know that the opposition side of team, the argument of the opposition side of team purpose is to solving the societal problem, right? But why we just letting the youth be the one who are solving this problem? Why don't we let all people, all range of people get included and get involved? Therefore, we have a lot of different perspective, a lot of different
When
idea, a lot of no, a lot of different things that we can use to solve this problem. Remember that maybe the opposition side they misinterpret what we said from the very beginning of the debate, that we are not regretting and that we are not against the youth, but we are just regretting the glorification of the youth of this narrative that just be the one who can make the change. And also, I quote that the second speaker of the opposition side of team said that this glorification will also not making creates a dominant because policymakers are not youth people. That did it mean that we need other age to solve the societal problem, ladies and gentlemen? Did we need that? Did it mean that youth only cannot solve the societal problem in our society? And also, this is second speaker of this side, the opposition side been talking about that we don't give clear mechanism, but we remember that this motion is a good motion. Therefore, we don't need any mechanism on this debate, and also we are just talking about the harm and the benefits of this debate, ladies and gentlemen. And also, second argument of their
Point.
second, yes.
So, when you don't have any mechanization, how could you regret the status quo, but you don't have any clear step to change that? Please explain
We
more.
already we already talked that we letting all people, all aids to have a chance to solve this problem, to solve the societal problem that the opposition team want to solve. Therefore, in our case, we still can achieve what the opposition team want to achieve. Ladies and gentlemen, going to the second argument that the opposition team thought that this glorification will giving attention to the world and society. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of the argument is to solve the societal problem, right? But and like to making the society know about the issue. But we believe the society right now is already aware about what is the issue, but the society don't have the capability. The society don't have the idea because the society believe that the youth is the only one who have the responsibility to make the change. So the adult people, the other people believe with this narrative, believe that, oh, my time is already passed. This is not our time. This is the youth time. We should not be included in this thing because this narrative, this glorification of this narrative, making this stigma in our society. Therefore, we cannot solve the problem that the opposition side of team want to solve, ladies and gentlemen. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we need to know that in our cases, we already talked about three things. First thing, that the harm of this glorification of the narrative. First, we already talked that yes, we believe that these youth are the future generation, and with this youth, if we are glorification this narrative, this youth will believe that we are our Satanas is better than the others. This will be making an ego in the youth itself. Therefore, in the future, youth will become a apathic
Points.
person, will become a selfish person now, will become will underestimate other people. So this is will make a harm in our society in the future itself, ladies and gentlemen. And also, we already talked that we believe that in our problem that appear in our society today is not is need to be recognized as by a lot of certain age by all people in our society because some
Points.
problem already appear no because some problem already appear from the very long time. Therefore, we need an perspective. We need an sight from the older people. And when these older people maybe don't have any power again, don't have any energy again, therefore, it means when this idea from the older people get transferred to these youth people who have the energy, who are have the energy but less experience about this problem, this will be making a cooperate in our society and will solve the problem the opposition side of team won. So if we can achieve what the side of the opposition team won for the very first time, why we should be why we should making opposition team win this debate, ladies and gentlemen. And also our third point is that we thought that this problem can also be achieved and just be achieved by all people by this will taking a long time if we just laying on the youth itself because we need another perspective, we need another idea from the other people. Therefore, they should know what they should be doing first, what they should be target, what of the target they should do. Therefore, it will solve the societal problem itself. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, the opposition side of team just talking on their best scenario and never talking on the worst case scenario on themselves. I'm so proud to propose.
To one. Panels, we think that our side of the house are really trying to gain the interest of these motions. We could see as what the debate, the dynamica of this debate are really progressive in our side of the house. We do believe that our side of the house are trying to make a progressivity in towards the society, and we're trying to find the best way to bring more beneficial and effective into these cases. We cannot stand in the status quo that's still regressive like right now. Noticing 3 points of analysis that we hold into this debate as what my first and second has told you clearly before, that why the glorifications of a young as a change maker into these motions are better to bring the progressivity towards the cases, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, looking about the environmental issues. Secondly, about the society issues that never been noticing these particular circumstances that never been noticing by or even solving by this particular actor, or we call them adult. And thirdly, about the issues of millennials or the voices of millennials, the rights of millennials that never been fulfilled by the House of Representatives or the governments in these cases. Well, ladies and gentlemen, 2 points of rebuttal will be delivered to the government side of the House. Firstly, once government mentions that under young marriage are still being justified in the status quo and it's such as problematic in the status quo, we're so sorry to say big no, because firstly, at the very first place, young marriage are not harmed even at the very first place. Maybe in the government world they are glorifying this particular circumstances. They think that this will make more violence inside the marriage, or marriage, so sexual harassment or betrayal or something like that in those a particular marriage. But we think that this violence, this harassment are more likely, are less likely to be happen. We say that it will really less likely to be happen in our side of the house. Again, we cannot generalize people life at the very first place. Basically, many young partner are happy. They are enough because of their happiness. Their happiness are come into spectrum. We do have our different parameter of success in our marriage, or maybe happy in our marriage world, ladies and gentlemen. So there will be okay to let these particular actions to be accessed in the current status quo, and it's going to be justified and it's not problematic. So it's okay to be accessed in the current status quo, because first of all, there have no any consent. They have already consent even at the very first place. They are going to come into the world of marriage. They know their partner. They choose their own partner that used to be benefited by their own self. They protect them even more. This will be better in our side of the house, because at the very first place we cannot generalize that this harmful just because of some of young partner got a betrayal or broke up in the end of the day. Moreover, government are there to mention this kind of circumstances in the status quo without any analysis why it is problematic to happen in their side of the house. And secondly, when opposition government mentions that kids aren't capable enough to solve their certain problem, they couldn't develop because of they thought that they were all right, ladies and gentlemen, we say big no. By getting those certain particular glorifications of this narrative in our side of the house, it will be more possible to be happen. It will be, the likelihood will be more in our side of the house. The exposure and the supports towards the society, how the way they could solve this particular problem, will use the certain exposure of glorifications in our side of the house, and the youth is capable enough to announce and show to the world how about what they want to stand for, what they are going to do, what they are going to give a more beneficial. They are going to give more progressivity in the current status quo, and the social issues that have been struggled for is will be heard and catch by the society attentions, and to lead and involve themselves towards this change maker. They will see how this particular actor sincerely of the youth to fight for these particular issues, rather than they are just staying in the status quo and just hoping that adult will bring their voices. But how we see the status quo is still regressive right now. It means that how now is the time to doing this movement. And we don't say that the society influence towards this change maker, but by these just clarifications, the society will be more attracted to those issues. So that's why we shouldn't regress towards these clarifications. Let's come into my points of flesh. Firstly, which side is better to bring the progressivity towards this particular status quo? Points of analysis of this progressivity that need to be brought by this particular actor is that how the voices of millennials should be shared by the world or to solve youth issues. Status quo are regressive, even the government aware that these voices are not here, and how even doesn't government giving any attention for that, right? How these glorifications take a bigger scope of changes in the status quo. Let me give you this step-by-step analysis, even because of their voices are not here. They need to bring the world into changes because of these particular issues not noticing and solving enough by adult in the status quo. So that's why they really glorify this narrative. Even if glorifications are not good in their side of the house, but it will be better in our side of the house, because to let those particular glorifications that happen or exposure in the current status quo, the exposure become dominant in the media, so that the more and more people are will be more familiar with this particular narrative. Even if this being glorified, it will be much better in our side of the house, because of course we can got a more as a support, got a more changes spreading the way how the youth can be a change maker, because of back to the narrative that every single person can be a change maker, but not everybody knows how. So that's why this glorification will make people know how to bring being a change maker for the world future, better future, ladies and gentlemen. That's why this clarification will be beneficial at all, with all media exposure, as what my first and second has clearly mentioned to you before. Even more, this motion will be really reduce the problem from the government side of the house once they mentions about firstly millennials' voices are not here because of they are underestimated by the adult. Sure, once you glorify these motions, it will better in the your side of the house and also our side of the house because it changes that have been changed by these youths when. As an example, as what Wisnu mentioned before, the DPV campaign on the plastic pollution in Bali that bring Bali into 2019 are finally free from its pollutions itself. Once this bring more romanticizations or glorifications by the media, will change the perspective from the society about these shows on this narrative are true. Oh, these narrative are true. It will guide them a manifesto to bring more people are join this group, right? Later, youth will be more here by the world, even adult, because they see the real progressivity that bring by this particular youth in the end of the day in the current status quo. Second of all, how our side of the house are better in taking hand to protect this particular actor from any pressure and keep maximize their protect and import. Government mentions that deals will burden an actor because they do this because of just any pressure. We say big no. This burden are equal to their capability. Once this action being glorified, it doesn't mean that all the young people should do this current act. This current activity. If they don't do, they will get a penalty or punishment. No, it is not something like that. It's not the way how these emotions are worked. And in some cases that bring by the government side of the house that they have glorifications more in their side of the house. We do believe that all the things that they have to hold in this debate are will not happen, but even if it will be better in our side of the house. We do believe that even nowadays it's bring progressivity in their status quo. Many young people are trying to looking for the way how to change the society, how to change our world, how to get our own right, because they do aware about their right that haven't been fulfilled by this particular actor of or this government, right? Even if this pressure happen, this pressure will not be a pressure like I need to do this even if I don't like, but this pressure will be bring more better in our side of the house because this pressure will influence, will make people more aware about this particular circumstances once they can really aware about their voices that have never been put attention by adult. How we can achieve this progressivity because at the very first place need to achieve their need, right? They need to got the equality of it and so that how they got a more pressure to bring more innovations and better life in the particular status quo, and moreover it will be more effective in our side of the house. That's why we're with this debate very proud to oppose.
I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, we think that it's really clear that we could confirm that the opposition side of the house are far better in this debate. They do several things that I will explain to my speech. So 3 things that I would explain to my speech. First, why our side is the one who deserves to win. Second, why the government side of the house could not win. Third, I'll explain more about the point of cases, right? So why our side is the one who deserves to win? We think that it's really clear once we explain clearly to you how the likelihood or any other kind of elder in like youth involvement like domination like ego clearly will not happen due to several things. Of course, we explain you like we don't want to change we don't want to like keep in status quo once it become really regressive. We want to increase the progressivity of it. That's why we need this youth change maker as the agent to create a change. Noticing how the change, like the narrative already exists at the very first place, it's not enough. That's why we need a glorification to gain more exposure, not only from society, especially from the youth itself, to create like more involvement, create a better change to our society. Noticing how in the current status quo, the more change was clearly dominant by these elder people, right? So why the government side of the house could not win? We think that it's really they have a really lack of engagement toward the cases that we already bring at the very first place. Noticing how we have the same interest to create same interest to create like a change to our society by using the youth. However, we think like they don't have like a really clear stance or mechanization. Once they mention that they don't want to keep in status quo, like the status quo is still regressive. There's no like really massive change like now significance things that will come to a really good development of the country. However, we think that it's really backlashes with the thing that they have to propose in their argument. Noticing how once they mention like they want the involvement or from society, so they want like an equal involvement from society. That's why we have to use this glorification of narrative to create like involvement. The dominant can be happen. We already explained it many times. The dominant of like the change could be happen if at the very first place there are no equal. If at the very first place there is equal involvement. However, in the current status quo, not equal. Dominant was by these elderly people, and I already explained clearly the likelihood how they are less incentive to solve any kind of trend issues, right? That's why we think that once the current the condition are not equal at the very first place, we need the glorification to make it equal. Not to make it equal, not only one-sided like anything was decided by the elder people. However, this should be the agent of change to involve for creating a good solvement towards the social issues, also to develop, to increase the progressivity of development or of our country. So the point of crisis that our side clearly win. First, which side is better to bring the progressivity towards in the status quo? Noticing we already explained to you how important the glorification, how it will inspire many people, how the sympathy will become in our side of the house. We think that we already play in their base scenario. However, the government side of the house keep running away by not responses towards the cases that we bring. We think that we already explained how the glorification will create more exposure. Media will notice you. That's why the involvement or of many people will become more. That's why we need that the youth of the change, this youth as the change maker, the progressivity of it will become better. Noticing how the both sides have agreed that the status quo was still not enough. However, we think that it's very clear once we win this in this debate, once we could bring the more progressivity towards the status quo, what the word of the government will look like. They said like the fellow is still conservative. That's why once you don't glorify the youth as the change maker, the fellow is still the fellow is still like conservative at the end of the day, right? Like there's no like significant change. They will keep in status quo. They regret it but with the proposal they will still keep in status quo. There's no thing that change the country development will become regressive. Second classes, how our side are better in taking hand to protect this particular actor from any person and keep maximize their power any further. Noticing how once we create like glorify the action, once the movement become bigger, like it could possibly become like a really big movement. We think like the protection towards the certain actor that want to be changed, like once it become big, so it's harder from people to interrupt. That's why the protection will become better in the side of the house. By all of this reason, so proud to oppose.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me explain and conclude why we win this debate. First of all, we already proved to you that why we really regret the glorification of youth as change makers narrative in our side. First, we proved to you that why. First, we proved to you that with this narrative, we don't make any really massive change that my prime minister already explain to you, that we need this problem to be solved as fast as possible. But comparative to their side, that they want this to be a long-term run, and we say that it is not okay. We already proved to you that why it is not okay, because when this long-term run happen, the problem that's still being that's still happen in the society will take too long time to be solved, because why we already proved to you that this youth doesn't have that much voice because of the conservative society, and we say that that is the main reason why we really regret the glorification and why we win this debate. First, we already proved to you that in the term of making change, the only actor that need to be as the change maker is not the only youth itself, but also every layers of the society. And by that, we already proved to you that why in this conservative society, this youth does not have any place. That even that my deputy prime minister already say to you that even if they should have the place to voice their voice, but still this voice is not big enough. We still see there's a lot of problem that happen in the society, that what both sides want, that we want this problem, this social problem to be gone from our society, right? And by the way, we think that this youth as change maker narrative doesn't match what we want to achieve at the first time with this narrative, right? We already proved to you why these youth aren't that capable enough to make the change, but also we prove to you and we show to you why the adult involvement are needed, because they just like what they say to us, that like the Bali itself, the bureaucracy, that this youth needs so many, they already show to us that this youth needs so many of them, this youth needs so many of their voice to make change, and by that they can make the adult believe them, because why, at the very first time they showed to us with protesting only this youth can make change, but we need, but we already proved to you why we win, because we say that, that's why their case is really supporting our case, because they prove to us but that this youth voice can be heard by the society if only they protest to our bureaucracy and such else. And by the way, we think we win this debate, because first we show to you why this youth exchange maker is not good to our society, and it's not good to the youth itself, the actors, that they will get ego and such else that my whip and my DPM already explained to you, and why that my prime minister showed to you why it is really bad to the society itself, because the problem still don't solve as soon as possible in their case, right? And in our case, the problem is solved because we see that the change maker need to be both sides, not only the youth, and by that we think that is why we win this debate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. About government's reply, spent 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay, thank you so much for the debate. For me,
I already.
oh, okay. I am